Hi, I'm Marty Levinson.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson.
Snip, snip.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that living light city, sweet home Chicago. 224 446. Come on, baby, now get your business fixed. Come on, honey, don't you?
Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman in the business today, Sonny Hersh, and your host, Avi Meyers.
Avi Meyers here, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Welcome, everybody. Want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hersh. He and I produce this thing for you. And join us every single week. Chicago Thursday, 7:30, Friday, 2:30, Evanston, 8 o'clock, ECTV, Monday, 6 o'clock in about 35 north and northwest suburbs. And, of course, usually the Tuesday after it originally airs in Chicago, the day after in the suburbs. You can find it on the World Wide Web at ntnm.org. And, you know, it's just amazing how many of you guys are watching this on the web. You know, first time we sat down to film, I said over 10,000, then it became over 11,000. This isn't going to air, you know, it takes us a couple of weeks to get this on air, and who knows what the number's going to be, but anyway, like over 10,000 of you, and that's the number I'm going to stick to for a long time. Well, actually, depending on how fast you guys watch. But over 10,000 shows watched and climbing rapidly. Thank you so much. My guest, my only guest today, and this is the right time of year for it too, because we're talking about our jack-of-all-trades expert, one of our resident neighborhood experts, as well as as far as I'm concerned, the single most important election lawyer in Illinois, if not the best in the whole shot, Jim Nally. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Avi, and thanks for having me on.
First of all, thank you, and I appreciate that very much. And yeah, we're all rushed up today, so we didn't even talk about what we're going to talk about, but we never do anyway.
You know, we usually do a pretty good job just flying with it.
No, absolutely. So, well, first of all, there's obviously the election. People are already getting our primary this year moved from what would be the third week in March, like
yes.
March 20-some, to February 5th, and people already are getting petitions out.
Right. Actually, people, the first day to circulate was August the 7th, so there's already been people out for several weeks now. And the first day to file those petitions will be October the 29th, and the last day will be November the 5th.
Which is just amazingly fast, and that's compared to earlier. It was about the second week of December, something like that.
Yeah, normally the first day to file would be the second week of December until about the middle of December, with our primary being moved up, though, just about 6 weeks. Everything else was moved up about the same time.
And, of course, that's going to mean a whole different election season. People will need to ring doorbells around December 25th. And,
well, you know what? It's going to be a very interesting dynamic. It starts with the circulation. In many ways, this is going to help people who want to be candidates for office because you have much better weather now when people can be out circulating.
Oh.
You know, under the old schedule, you couldn't even begin circulating until about mid to late September, and it didn't take very long. You know, October's around here can be pretty brutal, and certainly November's. So, you know, people have had a good chunk of the late summer now to be out at block parties or parades or festivals or things of that nature, garnering signatures for office. So I think that you may see an increase in the number of candidates on the ballot this time around because there are more people, I think, who will have the opportunity to get out with their volunteers in good weather and get the signatures they need to run for office.
That's an interesting point. I didn't think of it. Of course, there's already one too many candidates, at least one too many. Probably there'll be 2 or 3 too many for ward committeemen in the 50th ward, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story. I know you'll have some guests who are going to address that directly.
Oh, we definitely have everybody. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, and I don't want to get, you know, the trouble is that Jim and I are friends with everybody, and that becomes a problem. But you know, Alderman Stone, who is the ward committeeman, is facing competition from Senator Silverstein. And as a matter of fact, you saw them both previously to when Jim was on. At least I think that's the way it's going to work because I tape a bunch of shows in a day. And I haven't even talked to either one of them yet today, but that'll have been on prior. And it'll be interesting to hear what both of them have to say. But, you know, somebody I know, the best comment I heard from anybody about that, it's almost like you know, you're watching a train wreck about to happen.
Well, like you said, Avi, you and I know both of them, been friends with both of them for many years, and you would just hope, you never like to see friends competing against each other. So,
No, not at all.
You would hope that there's going to be some compromise that they can reach that isn't going to cause, what could potentially be a very, brutal and hard-fought battle, and, who knows what the outcome will be, when the dust settles on all of it.
No, I think everybody could wind up being the loser for it, unfortunately.
Well, there's going to be, committeemen, which in many ways in the last, several years has become a less important office. This year, I'm seeing a lot more interest in it. And I don't know if that's a function of, the primary being moved up. You do have a lot in Chicago, as you know. There were a number of incumbent aldermen who were defeated.
Right.
And in most of those wards, the person who defeated the incumbent alderman, who many of those incumbent aldermen were also the Democratic committeeman of that ward, now the person who beat them for alderman is going after the committeeman job as well. So
right. You hit what I think is the reason. Not that I'm the super expert, but I think, yeah, things became a lot more wide open because of the aldermanic election. Even though the Daley's now made peace with the unions.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, though, if somebody's been beaten for alderman, the person who beat them figures, I may as well just keep the momentum going and try to beat them for committeemen and become the Democratic committeeman as well as a nonpartisan alderman of the ward.
Is Bob Fioretti going for it in the second ward?
My understanding is yes, he's got petitions ready to circulate, or he is circulating.
Because I know at one time you definitely had ties with Fioretti and Desjardins.
Yeah, yeah. So he's an example, but he's somebody who beat an incumbent and now is looking to to the possibility of being committeeman as well. There'll probably be probably a dozen wards where that's in effect, because I think there are 11 incumbents who either retired without facing an opponent or lost to an opponent.
Yeah, my understanding too. I talked to Joe Moore on a previous show, and he's expecting opposition. Well, he's not the ward committeeman.
He's not the committeeman in his ward. Yeah.
But he is expecting opposition from Gordon's people.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, is even in the wards where, you say, for instance, an incumbent won, but won a close battle or maybe went into a runoff, you're still going to have people who, for whatever reason, were opposed to that incumbent or his or her policies, who might be saying, you know what, this committeeman race is right around the corner. Let's keep our group together and try to get that as kind of a beachhead or a foothold, and then the next time around we can go after the alderman job or whatever other jobs are on the horizon for him. So I think you're going to see a lot of contested aldermanics, a lot of contested committeeman races, particularly where an alderman has lost or been in a close race, even if that person won.
Yeah, well, it would seem it's definitely shaking out that way right now. There's no question about it, and I just hope that peace and goodwill prevails throughout on February 6th.
Don't we all?
It's also technically looking to me like if the Bears, get to the Super Bowl again, the campaign's going to start that Sunday night or Monday morning when everybody's hungover from celebrating, and then has to go out to the polls to vote Tuesday?
Well, this is the thing. If you look at the dynamic already, you're going to be able to do very little during the holiday season. Once you hit December, if you're a Christian, you've got Christmas coming, you've got Hanukkah. If you're Jewish, there's that time of the year is traditionally just a time when people
not to mention the Indians and the Muslims have their own festivals of lights and Kwanzaa and
there's that's just the time of year when people generally step back. They spend more time with family. They're doing religious things, celebrating holidays, so they're not interested at all in politics. And then the next thing you know, it's New Year's and everybody will be watching the bowl games and things like that. So you've got that natural time period where it looked like it would probably be like a 1-month election from, a couple days after New Year's until February the 5th.
Yeah, I've got a big bet on the cereal bowl this year.
Take Cocoa Puffs.
Oh, okay.
Don't let anybody know I told you that.
Okay, you got it.
But you identified a real interesting thing. What if the Bears do as well as they did last year and get into the Super Bowl? The whole month of January is going to be playoffs and Bears this and Bears that and Bears, and the Super Bowl is actually the Sunday before the primary in Illinois. So, you could really have a situation, between what I think the holiday December, January 1st period is going to be dead anyhow, and then you're going to have a situation where people are going to, if they're following the Bears, that's what's going to be the talk of the town. So it could really take a lot of the wind out of the sails of people trying to get voters interested in campaigns.
Yeah, and you think about it too. January is often the most brutal month of the year.
Definitely. I mean, as far as people going door to door and campaigning and things like that, yeah, January is probably historically the worst month of the year in terms of weather. If you're running in a March primary, as they did in the past, it was always like the third week of March. So, the first, March you could have some nice days,
Yeah, because actually the primary last time was Ontario Bryan's birthday as well as March 21st, which is also the first day of spring.
Yeah, so I mean, you definitely, if you're running a campaign, you have bad weather. Under the old system, you had a couple of weeks at the end where you could count on having some decent weather if you had, to get out and see people and go door to door or whatever you're going to do. You're not going to have that because, it's very rare that you get a nice stretch of weather in January.
Yeah, no question. It's going to be a whole different thing. Now, are the laws the same, though? I mean, are there any changes in the law that people have to worry about?
No, not really. Early voting, this is another thing. Early voting will be starting right after the first of the year. So it's going to be very interesting again, as far as people who want to vote. It's going to be a very short season because, nobody's really going to be paying attention until after the first of the year. And then, bang, early voting starts and, what should be the thick of the political campaign. But who knows if there's a big Bears phenomenon going on, it might not be.
Yeah, and I don't think people are going to get time on the Super Bowl for their political ads.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, traditionally, the TV is inundated with political ads in January or in February and March, rather, approaching. And now you're moving all that up a month. So with football and other things, again, is it going to be harder to get on television? And will there be as much opportunity or will it be a lot more expensive? The presidential candidates will get on because they'll have big budgets. But as far as like local office, how much interest is going to be there? How much opportunity will the candidates have to get their message out?
Yeah, now you've actually represented presidential candidates in the past.
Yeah, I have the last couple of election cycles, and I'll probably end up with one this cycle too. So
sounds good. I hope you get paid.
I generally try to make that a rule, no matter who I'm representing.
In the publishing business, we don't take political ads without advance payment. That's how it works.
I've often found in the political area it's good to get at least a healthy retainer before you undertake any work.
Yeah, when I worked in one campaign, it was explained to me afterwards. That these people took this deposit. This is what we have left. It was a losing campaign, and it wasn't my money and it wasn't my campaign. But okay, these guys are going to get 10 cents on the dollar. These guys are going to get no cents on the dollar. And okay.
Well, this is going to be a real interesting case study because everybody's been pushing now, and all the states throughout the country. Everybody's been trying to move up their primary, their caucuses, so they can be the first or the second or whatever. And that motivated Illinois to do it because the last several elections, by the time March rolled around, whoever is going to be the nominee of either major political party had pretty much been decided by March. So Illinois said, hey, we want to get into the mix, so let's do it the first week of February. We have an Illinois senator and Senator Obama who's running, favorite son type thing. Hillary Clinton, who has, sizable ties, grew up in Illinois, so that had something to do with it too, I'm sure. But all the states are doing this. In fact, I just saw that Florida and Michigan now may lose their right to elect delegates because they're trying to move their primaries up even further into January now.
Whoa.
And the parties are finally starting to say, look, this is getting crazy. We're going to be holding primaries in, before 2008, before this is all over.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, 2 days after the next presidential election, you could.
So actually, they've been told, the Democratic Party, I'm not sure what the Republican Party has done yet, but they've told Michigan and Florida that if they do move their primaries up again, they will not seat any delegates who may be elected in an early primary like that. So they're trying to put some kind of a stop on this because it's getting to the point now like somebody will want to hold it in November or December of the year prior.
Yeah, I know that they're already doing the straw poll things. I mean, they did traditionally they do it in Iowa, and a lot of money went into that. But at the state fair this year, there was also a certain amount of straw polling.
Well, I think you have a danger of burning people out if this becomes just like an endless campaign season or these presidential campaigns turn into 2 or 3 year affairs. People are just going to just tune it all out. And, it's interesting to see in other countries, like in Britain, for instance, where they have a parliamentary form of government, Israel, some of the other countries that have a parliament as opposed to, our, system of government with the Congress and the president and judiciary. there, these campaigns are very short. They're about 6 weeks. A government is dissolved and a new election is declared, and 6 weeks later the election's over.
I think you're a lot better off. I brought up that point with Congressman Schakowsky when I interviewed her on a previous show, and she basically, I was talking about, why not have the primary on Labor Day, and go right into a November election. She felt the logistics would be absolutely horrid from her standpoint.
It probably would, and I'm sure the election authorities, are already pretty nervous about making sure that all the challenges to candidates are done in enough time so they can get their ballot together, so when early voting starts in early January, it's resolved who's on and who's off the ballot. So I imagine the election authorities would also say, wait, that's not enough time for us to organize everything that we need to get organized.
Yeah. For those who aren't familiar with the parliamentary system, I should point out that what you actually do is you vote for a party as opposed to a candidate. And basically, based on the percentage of votes for that party, X amount of people from that party in the order that they submit become, members of, the parliament and the majority, and then somehow they put together a majority or people, like in Israel, nobody gets a clear majority.
So there's coalitions and...
Right, and, pick a prime minister from there.
But it's a much shorter time period of all that happens in the parliamentary system as opposed to our system. I think this may be interesting because we may look back on this and finally see everybody who wanted to keep moving things up and up and up and up. It may all come crashing into a wall, and you may have a system where people finally say, one of the systems that I've always thought deserved a good look was doing a series of regional primaries. Divide the country into regions, and the eastern region would vote on one Tuesday, and the following Tuesday, maybe the southern, and then the Midwest, and then the West. Or, in about a 1 month period, you could have the entire country voting, and it would still be a short enough period if you made the alignments in terms of the size of the states and things that nobody would be the winner after the first round of primaries.
Actually, I kind of like that.
It would be a lot more organized. Now, to get 50 states to agree on anything...
Not going to happen.
Probably won't happen unless there's
we can't even get the Democratic Party in Springfield that has the Senate, the House, and the governor's chair to agree on anything.
Yeah, like I said, it looks like a system that on paper would make a lot of sense, but a lot of things that make sense never make it into the law. So, but you may end up, because of this one-upmanship that's going on now with every state trying to move their primary up a couple days ahead of the next one, at some point it's something we may look at because people are just going to say, yeah, this isn't working either, where you have all these states changing the dates all the time and trying to pack all this stuff into a 2-week period in January and early February. So.
Yeah, and unfortunately, one of the things about all these systems is it still doesn't do anything to improve the quality of the candidates one way or another.
Yeah, I just think that you'd probably be better off having a shorter period of time because people would be the voters, would be more focused on who's running, whereas with this drawn-out stuff, nobody's paying attention now.
No, I'm not paying attention.
And nobody's going to be paying attention around the holiday season. And, if the Bears make it into the playoffs, people aren't going to be paying a lot of attention then either. I
haven't watched any of these debates, although I already have a pretty good feeling, just because I do follow it in general. Who I like or who I don't, but, I'm going to stay tuned till the end, and I really figure things out the last 2 or 3 weeks.
I think most people do. I think, in particularly the last several, presidential elections, which have been so close, you've had a lot of undecided people going into maybe the last week or so, and I just think if it were a shorter season, you could be more logical in terms of how the candidates get a chance to present themselves to the voters, and I think the voters in turn would say, yeah, I can pay attention for 3 weeks or 4 weeks before the election and really concentrate on it as opposed to watching TV commercials in September of 2007 for a presidential election that's in 2008.
Yeah, I can't believe all these people are already paying attention. First of all, that these people are the candidates are devoting so much time to these early debates. These people really have jobs, be it governor, senator, or whatever, probably aren't getting very much work done on the local level.
No, if you look at the numbers, that the amount of money that's been sent, for instance, in New Hampshire and Iowa, which have always been the first states with caucuses or a primary is in New Hampshire. And, the numbers I've looked at, these candidates have already spent tens of millions of dollars in those states over this past summer, again, for a caucus or for a primary that isn't going to take place until 2008. So, maybe at some point people are going to say, well, is that really cost effective? Are people really paying attention if they see this in July in between innings of a baseball game? I personally think not.
I think a person's mind can be changed very quickly, and it is amazing how much money is being raised already, though. And I mean, part of this is a function of the internet.
Oh, the internet has just been huge. I mean, Howard Dean was really, the last time around, was on the forefront of all this, and although his campaign, ended up
he's
falling
self-destructed.
apart. Yeah, but the one thing he established was the power of the internet, because he raised millions of dollars over the internet. Plus, he had this vast network of emails and addresses and things that were garnered through that. I mean, if you think about it, one of the biggest ways candidates nowadays campaign is to mail people. But you have to put together a brochure, and then you have to get a mailing list, somewhere from a mail house or whatever, and then you got to get labels on it, and then you got to bring it to the post office, and make sure you have the proper permit to mail it, and it's a long process. If you wanted to get a brochure out, even if you're rushing, it would probably still take you a week to get it from the time you'd put it together into voters' hands.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got a database of 500,000 email addresses, you can put together a brochure, and an hour later, 500,000 people have it.
Yeah, and if you made a really big mistake because you didn't check it carefully enough in that hour, you could be right out of the race.
Well, quality control is an issue, but I think the internet is really changing things, in the way people raise money, and I think probably the next wave is going to be in the way people address voters, and you're going to see maybe less spent on traditional media like television or radio or even newspapers, and more money spent on internet and blogging and YouTube and things like that.
Yeah, I think very much it's going to happen. Mike Moses' son Mark, who's working in radio out in Iowa. There's actually a thing on I don't know the web address offhand, and I don't think we're supposed to give it anyway if it's a paid thing, but you want your own live radio show, over the internet. They'll give you the form, and you can do a live call-in. People can call right up to you. I mean, this is simple stuff that anybody, worst comes to worst, you go to the Radio Shack or whatever, and or whatever appliance store, but anywhere, pick up the stuff you need. It's like, people are accessible to everybody. Just our own stuff. It's just amazing to me how many people watch the shows on the web.
Right. I mean, at one time you were limited to the people who could get cable in Chicago, and then it expanded where you've got viewership in suburban areas, and now with the web you can have people anywhere in the world watching.
Well, we can trace from the website, from our own website, ntnm.org. We're able to trace where the viewers come from. I mean, not the viewers, but the people that go to the website. There have been 4 people off the coast of Nigeria, 4 different IP addresses that have gone to. This can't be a mistake. It's that many people. I mean, okay, maybe the guy in Iran typed it in wrong, or maybe he saw Jewish something and went. But it's all over the place. I mean, we've got hits from the Senate and the House in Washington, State House in Springfield, because you can actually see who the provider is.
Yeah, well, that's the next wave on the internet. It was a money-raising device last election. I think this election it's going to be a much more important way of candidates getting their message out, and I think they've realized that.
Oh, which reminds me, too, we actually have viewers now in Mexico City. Hi, Flora, how you doing? We've actually been in touch.
Are we subtitled down there?
No. She speaks English. She's actually a news director. She works for like a network of radio stations down there.
Yeah, it is amazing the reach of the internet in just so many ways, and I think that's going to be one of the has become and will continue to grow in terms of having an impact on politics and elections.
Yeah, just really remarkable. Hey, your topic. What do you want to do?
I don't know. I've been having fun talking about all this.
So let's talk. Well, that's the legislature. No, in terms of other elections, I mean the state legislature. First of all, because we don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully, the transit thing will be solved by the time this thing airs. It's very frustrating, but do you see any real interesting battles shaping up right now in terms on a statewide level?
Statewide level, this is really kind of an off year for state elections because we pretty much they revised it so that the governor's election and the statewide office holders will take place on the non-presidential years. So presidential years are more county offices.
We got the county stuff, yeah. Right. So Jesse White isn't up now, but
right. Recorder of Deeds is up. The county treasurer, the state's attorney, which is going to be an interesting race.
State's attorney will be a very interesting race.
as everybody knows, has announced he will not seek re-election, so he's going to finish his term out, which will be his third term. But there's going to be, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people have, announced that they're going to run, and, my guess is even when a couple of those people may drop out for various reasons, you're still going to have 4 or 5 people on the ballot.
Well, we've had two of the people that announced they've run have been on the show in the past. Of course, Larry Sufferton, who's our county commissioner, and Tom Dart, who's the sheriff. And
now Tom Dart has not announced that he's running for state's attorney.
Oh, but he's thinking about it.
Well, his name is in the mix. I don't know that he's said anything one way or the other. I think that's more kind of the political columnists throwing his hat in there for him.
Well, as a matter of fact, I extended an invitation to him through Brian Town. As a matter of fact, I was hoping he was going to appear during this. We do 3 or 4 shows at once. He might show up next time, Tuesday staff meeting. One thing about Tom Dart that really bothers me, he won't drop what he's doing work-wise to come on television. And I really think that's rude.
He was elected to do that job, and he won't drop his responsibilities to come talk to you.
This time we're taping on Tuesday, and in Tuesday staff meeting all day, and no TV on Tuesday. So it's going to have to be a little bit, when we do the usual Wednesdays. That's when it'll get done. And hi, Brian. Thanks a lot for staying in touch, and we'll get him on at some point.
But Tom has not made any announcement one way or the other. I think that right now he's as you said, he's doing his job as sheriff, and he's doing a good job there. So I don't know what his intentions are one way or the other. But there's plenty of other people who have not been shy about throwing their name out there.
No, not at all. I don't know if it's official or not yet. But I have been talking to State's Attorney Dick Devine's people, and matter of fact, he might. I haven't decided when all the shows I'm taping today is. It might be the week before you. It might be the week after you. But I've got a feeling that one of his didn't one of his top assistants throw his hat in the ring?
Well, Anita Alvarez is running, and she has been chief of staff, I believe, for him. And then there's Bob Milan, who's been the first assistant, who my understanding is also running.
Right, that's the one I know.
Alderman
about.
Howard Brookins was announcing today, I believe, that he was going to be running. And then you've got Larry Sufferton, who you mentioned already, who we both know, and is a friend of ours. And, there's a couple of other people that have, Alderman Tom Allen's name has been mentioned, that he's interested. Commissioner Quigley from the county board.
Mike Quigley, yeah.
His name is out there. Now, I don't know that all these people have formally announced that they are going to run, but these are the names that have been kind of tossed into the mix.
Yeah, on the Republican side, I also heard Pareka's name.
Well, Pareka's actually announced, and he said he's definitely running.
Yeah, but he walked right by me at the Cub game Friday. And he's been on the show. I was very hurt. Well, he was in a hurry to get to the washroom, so I can't.
Yeah, well, he probably won't have 5, 6 people in his primary, but I could see the Democratic primary, shaping up with that many candidates.
Yeah, do we have a Senate? I don't even know if we have a Senate election up, don't we? Is Durbin up, or?
Yeah.
Is there any talk within the Democratic Party about him being opposed at all, or?
No, I don't think so.
So he's on pretty safe ground. The Republicans are actually, I hate to say it, but it's not that there aren't some decent people, but they're in no shape to mount much of a challenge against anybody right now.
Well, they've really taken some hits the last couple of elections, and I think they're still trying to rebuild from the bottom up. And I think their strategy is probably start electing people at the local level again and get a good base of candidates then who can seek some of these higher offices as the elections come and go.
And one of the Lester Munson, who's the legal guy for ESPN, I guess, or Sports Illustrated. I should know. I don't. But I saw him on he's on Chicago Week in Review with Joe Wiseman, and boy, the way he talks about Goyich, he talks about future Governor Quinn as soon as the indictments come down. Goyevich.
Well, Lester's got plenty to keep him busy in the sports world in terms of legal entanglements
legal
and
stuff.
things
It's
like that.
unbelievable what's going on, but we can't start getting into that subject.
Be fun.
Definitely. Well, maybe next time. Anyway, at this point, I want to thank very much. And boy, the half hour just seems to run by so fast it's not even funny. Jim Nally, not just jack of all trades expert, but the leading election lawyer in Chicago, the state of Illinois, maybe the Midwest, and probably most of the Western Hemisphere, and probably the Eastern too. I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hersh and Jim. Last words to the segment. People want to ask you questions and find out more about election stuff and all that.
I can be reached at 312-422-5560.
312-422-5560. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget you can watch the show on the web real soon. Take Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.